If you've ever wondered how to embroider on visors, you probably think you can't do it on a regular cap hoop, but you can. I came up with my own way of doing it, and I'm going to share that with you guys today. So before we get started, I just want to remind you guys to click subscribe. That way you don't miss any of our upcoming content. And I also want to remind you guys to stay to the very end, because there I will reveal a cap embroidery guide that's going to save your life. So stick around to the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and spray my stabilizer with some temporary adhesive. So now that I have it sprayed, I'm just pulled back the sweatbands of the hat, as you can see. And I'm going to place the tearaway stabilizer right above the sweatband. Now that I have everything together, I'm just going to go ahead and place everything underneath the tab. It just makes it a lot easier to get that sweatband underneath the tab. Because with visors, it's a lot more important that you get the sweatband underneath the tab. With regular cap hooping, you should as well. But with visors, since you have such a limited space, you want to make sure you are hooping it as tightly as possible. Another reason why it's important to use temporary adhesive spray is because it's going to help you smooth out these areas of the cap. And remember, you don't want it floating around, because that will give you your loss of registration. Next up, I'm going to do just like I would with any other hat. I'm going to bring it down underneath this little peg. And now usually with other hats, I like to keep the fabric outside the peg. But for this hat, because I want it to be as tight as possible, I'm actually going to bring the visor underneath this little peg right here. Next, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm bringing it underneath on the other side of the little metal clip where you place the latch. And then I'm going to bring it underneath again the peg. And that's just going to help tighten it up. Next up, I'm grabbing my binder clips. And I'm going to go ahead and clip them on the peg. And as you can see up here, this is really nice and flat with no wrinkles, because I got it. The key is to get it as close as possible to the edge, and then to make it as tight as possible when you push up on these. Okay, so it's a little bit different than regular cap hooping, but it's the same idea. Last but not least, once you make sure everything's pretty flat, this band is just going to help secure it a little bit more. So I'm just going to grab on this fabric a little bit more and make sure it's nice and secure. And there we are. It's a lot tighter now, as you can see. So I really want to know if you guys have ever embroidered on visors. And if you have embroidered on visors, what have you used? Have you used a cap hoop, or have you used a specialty hoop like the Hoop Tech Gen 2? If you guys want to see me embroidering visors with the Hoop Tech Gen 2, I can also make a video if enough people comment about it. So I went ahead and smoothed it out a little bit more just by, pushing on the fabric a little bit and then reattaching it to the stabilizer. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert it the same way I would with a regular cap. So something else I want to remind you guys is that you want to make sure that you put a center mark on your visor, because you don't have that middle cap seam like you do with your caps. So you are going to make sure you are going to have to make sure you do this before or after you hoop. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and center the design, and I'll press start. What do you guys think? As you guys can see, I was able to get some nice placement on this visor, and I would say this design is about 1 inch. So yeah, it really depends on the profile of your visor, which is, the size of the front. One of the major things to look out for when you're embroidering visors is a loss of registration, which, for those of you who don't know, is when the outline of the design does not match up with the fill of the design. And that can happen because, you don't have too much stability in the design. So something I want you guys to look out for is to keep your speeds low, Sometimes you might have to go under 500 depending on your design. I went at 450 to make sure that I didn't get any shifting on the design. Something else to look out for is that if you use the proper design, that if you take measures against loss of registration in the digitized design, then you can also combat loss of registration on visors. So one of the main things to look out for is digitizing, and I have a guide for you guys. It's gonna show you guys how to combat loss of registration with your digitizing. Alright, so if you guys like this video, you're going to like what I have to give you now even better. I have a cap embroidery guide that covers 7 mistakes that embroiderers usually make, but it goes so much more in depth than that. It talks about digitizing, design placement, materials to use, and so much more. So I linked it in the bio, and I highly recommend that you guys go and download it now. Alright, so if you guys are just coming across this video, I highly recommend that you like and subscribe because we have so much better content coming your way and you don't want to miss it. And I also recommend that you join our Facebook group, Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery, so you can talk to yours truly, me, and thousands of other embroiderers out there. So go ahead and join. I have linked it in the description. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.